So when the Violence Against Women Act was passed in 1994, that's when the Office on Violence Against Women was created within the Department of Justice to implement that legislation. The office gives out about $430 million in grants around the country annually to help improve the courts, prosecutors, law enforcement response, but also victim services. There are also some very unique programs like the Culturally Linguistically Specific Service Program to enhance community capacity and build new opportunities in different communities to address domestic violence more holistically. So my work is to support that mission of that office, and also to see how we can enhance the policies across federal agencies to address these issues. So I've really enjoyed that part as well, interacting with individuals, whether it's in HUD, the Office of Civil Rights, the Department of Education. A lot of work we're doing right now around campus sexual assault and efforts to reduce that has given us the opportunity to work collaboratively with the White House Task Force to protect students from sexual assault, and certainly the new initiative within the White House called Advancing Equity and Empowerment, that we're very involved also in seeing how some issues disproportionately impact communities of color, and how can we really strengthen the efforts to address this critical issue and make sure that the voices of community are at the table in shaping the response and being responsive to the realities on the ground. And I've actually had the opportunity now to go on a detail for 3 months with the White House Advisor on Violence Against Women. So essentially I'm on loan from the Department of Justice to the Office of the Vice President in helping do the work there as well. So the Office on Violence Against Women is very committed to making sure that underrepresented communities have a voice at the table, and certainly in the allocation of different grant programs, there's a concerted effort to make sure that, like as I mentioned, there are some grants specifically targeted to reaching culturally specific communities and building different models. We're also, for example, working on a domestic violence homicide reduction initiative in some pilot cities around the country, and have made it a requirement that the coordinated community response include the representation of communities of color, of community-based organizations in that effort in each local community. Certainly the issues of language access are a critical issue. So OVW has been funding some initiatives to make sure that with law enforcement, with the courts, and with service providers, that there's more compliance with Title VI of the Civil Rights Act, requiring meaningful language access for people seeking services. We also fund some national TA providers around issues of immigrant survivors, and making sure there's some very special provisions within the Violence Against Women Act for immigrant survivors. And so we fund TA providers, technical assistance providers, to go do trainings nationally, to develop resources and materials, and to see how the policies can be improved so that anyone, regardless of their immigration status, can seek safety. And really to recognize that it's a human rights issue to live free from violence and abuse. So it's a real commitment of our office.